afternoon, everyone. So there are many industries across the globe that we often don't truly think about the impact or the size of, and fashion is one of these. It's a $2.5 trillion global industry, and as a result, it's incredibly diverse and ranges from small business owners with handcrafted items to large companies that mass produce their clothes and stretch across the globe. Today, we're going to be talking about those big companies and their mass production, aka fast fashion. Not many of us realize the environmental impact that fast fashion has, and it's actually one of the largest sources of pollution in the world. Clothing is one of our basic needs, though. It's a lot more important than we give it credit for, but the convenience of fast fashion has taken a toll on the planet that we live in, which could lead to disastrous consequences for all of us in the future. It also takes advantage of its workers, which are typically from third world countries. So there are three main problems with fast fashion. Number one is the terrible working conditions and low wages from the workers. The second problem is the pollution from the production of the clothing. And the third is the pollution that comes about from throwing them away and keeping them in landfills. First, we're going to talk about the terrible working conditions. The fashion industry is notorious for the hazardous working conditions it puts its workers through. Mass production is made cheap by producing in countries with lax labor laws that often sacrifices the workers for a product. In fact, some have even called these workers victims of modern slavery. Almost all of them are paid well below minimum wage, with long hours in hazardous and poorly cared for facilities. These are known as sweatshops, and they've been a part of the clothing industry since the 1800s and are still in use by some companies today. The second large problem is the pollution that comes about from the cheap textiles used and the production. According to Princeton University, the fashion industry consumes 1/10 of all of the water used industrially to run factories and clean products. To put this into perspective, it takes 10,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of cotton, or approximately 3,000 liters of water for one cotton shirt. Let that sink in for a second. 3,000 liters of water for one t-shirt. Now imagine all of the water used for the tens of thousands of shirts produced daily. And most of the clothing produced is cheap quality and, due to the fast-paced market, only worn a few times, if at all. It's then discarded, sometimes donated, but more often than not, it ends up in a landfill. 50% of clothes end up in landfills. And we throw away, because of that number, about 14 million tons of clothes each year. Because of the cheap synthetics and the chemicals used, it's not going to decay until about 200 years. And other discarded materials end up making their way into the ocean, where they release a harmful substance toxic to the maritime ecosystems. So let's talk about what you can do to take action against such a problem. And the easiest solution is to separate yourself from fast fashion. Avoid buying from these companies and instead get your clothes by thrifting, buying sustainably, and buying less to keep the environmental impact as low as possible. Now, some might say that buying sustainably is a lot more expensive due to the better materials used and the labor that's being given fairly for the product. However, there are alternative ways that you can get sustainable clothes. And that's through thrifting, taking part in clothes swapping with friends, as well as the online markets that specifically are there to buy secondhand and sell them as well. Now, in realistic perspective, the only way to reduce the elimination is for these companies to take part in producing less, producing more sustainably, and giving workers fair wages. However, we as the consumers have the obligation to take action in the best way that we can. The way that we can help is to buy sustainably. And they'll see that. We have the opportunity to change for ourselves and force the businesses to change. And others can follow behind us, because any change, no matter how small, still makes a difference. It's important to take action to save our planet while we still can. So let's make the first step by buying more eco-friendly and taking a stand against fast fashion. I hope this presentation will make you stop and think next time you're shopping the stores for that new sweater. Thank you.